Okay, so this is probably going to be a difficult video to talk about because okay, this is where it all gets complicated because that's how Jonathan Hickman operates. We're going to cover the event storyline, and even though I'm not even nowhere near finished, the collection of the omnibus run of Avengers by Jonathan Hickman and New Avengers. Um, it's already out of order enough as it is, so might as well just go all out with it. I've already covered the first few issues of Avengers and New Avengers. I've also covered Infinity prior to that, and I always loved that story. And now I'm covering the end game of the two big sagas, where I'm now covering the epic storyline Avengers Time Runs Out, which I bought at the comic book store in Vans in Colorado, Vans Comics and Games. You can check him out. He's pretty awesome. Get along with him all the time. I even bought the hardcover deluxe edition, and this is a pretty awesome book. This is like, what, 500 or so pages, and this is a 500-page graphic novel collecting all the issues in one complete package. And yeah, we're going to be here for a while on this. The main focus of this story is that this takes place 8 months after two events happen. One is when the Illuminati of the Marvel Universe went ahead and basically killed a planet that had life, and specifically the Justice League, because that's what they were. How they keep saying how they have hope, and basically it was the Justice League, except they couldn't use the Justice League because, DC and Marvel hate each other. Oh man, I kind of will welcome Jonathan Hickman writing a story with the Avengers and the Justice League involved, because that would be freaking awesome. Hell, just get Jeff Johns on board, and then you have both writers and you have talented artists involved, and voila, you got a masterpiece going. This takes place 8 months after that, and especially after Captain America declared the Illuminati to be traitors and people who committed crimes against humanity, along with cataclysmic events. And also, there's the incursions going on, and then you got Namor doing these basically downright criminal activities where he, Thanos, and certain other characters who appear throughout the Avengers and New Avengers saga of the whole incursion crisis, where they form a new cabal and they basically go out to kill worlds themselves. Since if the Illuminati's not going to do it, then I'm going to have to do it. Because when they had killed that world, there was a huge fallout with the Illuminati. They start fighting, specifically Black Panther and Namor, because Namor decided to publicly reveal to them that he is an incompetent jackass, where he decides to basically say, hey, do you remember that thing during the Infinity Crisis we were in, and Thanos was attacking us? Yeah, I may have told him that I may have lied about, an Infinity Stone being in Wakanda, and he sent his forces there and massacred your people in gratuitous fashion. And as you can understand, Black Panther was naturally pissed off about it. Which does lead to this question of how fun do you think it's going to be when Namor and Black Panther in the MCU when Namor shows up in the MCU? Because they hinted at that in Endgame, where they talk about some earthquakes in the ocean, and that's never brought up again. So that led to the assumption that, oh, it's Namor. Namor and Atlantis are being hinted at, and they're coming into the MCU. And we're going to get Wakanda and Namor's forces of Atlantis going head to head in Mortal Kombat. Though I don't expect Namor to be the Namor we see in the comics, who is borderline villainous, but more of a humorous Namor, like they made the Skrulls the good guys. Yeah, I'm still confused at that. It's weird. But it's a different interpretation, so what am I to complain about? So long as the story's good, we can enjoy all we want. So, basically, this is the story called Time Runs Out. And basically what this is the prelude to the Secret Wars event where the multiverse collapses. And one of the key components in this story is... Okay, how do I explain this? You see, they gave this 8 months because they want all the other titles to catch up, because all the events that were going on in the comics, and then they had to play catch up, such as Captain America losing his soldier serum and passing the mantle on to Falcon, and now he's old and leading S.H.I.E.L.D. and no longer fighting in a fighting capacity. You got Reed Richards and the Illuminati on the run, but they need to finish their stories up in order to get everything caught up. You got Kamala Khan, who's introduced during this whole Marvel Now stuff. That's the brand name they were giving at the time. They got to do all this stuff here in order to catch up, so they gave 8 months to jump forward into the future and let all the other titles catch up so they can lead into this event. And basically, this is what Jeff Johns wanted to do with Doomsday Clock, where he wanted all the other DC titles to catch up with the 1 year later thing. But Dan DiDio, because he's very vindictive, did not care, and therefore everything's all topsy-turvy and upside down. And time has become more warped, and that's saying something considering this is the DC universe and the Marvel universe, and time and space doesn't really exist to them. So yeah, this story is probably my biggest favorite storyline they did with the Avengers and the Jonathan Hickman run. Like I said, I still love Infinity, but I was really enjoying the hell out of this story. Like, a lot of shit went down. Like, you got not just the Avengers and New Avengers, but you got the Mighty Avengers involved, you got some of the X-Men involved, you got Multiversal Paradox involved, you got Thanos involved because he's in the Cabal, and I'm pretty sure this is probably the funnest time he ever had in his life, and gets to be closer to death because he's an necrophilia in the comics universe. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Thanos would probably work as a Black Lantern in the DC universe. He would work as a Black Lantern. He would be their herald. Like Necron, yeah, he worships death, but he doesn't actually tries to sleep with death. Like, literally. In bed. And death's a woman. and then like... No, not Necron. He was the herald. He was the guy who was basically the main bad guy, but I'm trying to remember that other guy's name, who was basically his chosen one to help bring Necron into the world. But yeah, Thanos would work as a Black Lantern. In fact, I might actually do that in one of my stories, where I make Thanos a Black Lantern member, or their chosen one, to bring about the Black Lantern crisis. But yeah, moving on from potential multiverse stories. Another big surprise when I was reading this, because while I knew it was inevitable, and they even gave the heads up that this would probably happen, the Ultimate Universe shows up in this story because they're the last to incur the last Earth. That collides with the Marvel Universe 616, and they go ahead with Ultimate Marvel Universe. So basically, the Ultimate Universe and the Ultimate Marvel Universe are going head-to-head in Mortal Kombat. And now they're at this point where multiple characters show up, such as, like I said, Thanos, the Cabal, Namor, the Avengers, New Avengers, Wakanda's people, the X-Men. You even get the Maker, Reed Richards, who, while Reed Richards obviously is not created by Jonathan Hickman, the persona of the Maker was created by Jonathan Hickman. Like, they didn't know what the hell to do with Reed Richards after Ultimatum. Like, they were going the villain route with him, but then they were like, okay, where do we take this character next? But then Jonathan Hickman stepped in and was like, listen to me! We make him the Maker. A villainous character with intelligence beyond his years. Oh, and we also introduced more comic-y stuff that is impossible in the realistic Ultimate Universe. I mean, like, as realistic as you can get. I mean, like, there's a person who gets angry and turns gray. Basically, it's all complicated. But yeah, so when we get to this moment, basically, the story is involving how Captain America and S.H.I.E.L.D. are looking for the Illuminati. Susan Storm's involved in this. And there's a lot of death and despair involved in this, because since this is the end game of their story, the plan was to basically just let's just start killing people left and right, because this would all lead to the Secret Wars event where basically everyone's going to be saved as much as humanly possible, except probably the Ultimate Universe, because it's the Ultimate Universe and they were dead for a long time. Not as long as Barry Allen being dead. No, 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 no. They came back in, like, what, 2018? Near the end of the year, or 2017, before Brian... Oh, yeah, 2017, because after that, Brian Michael Bendis left for DC. Look how he's handling Superman lately. Seriously, I'm pretty sure Dan DiDio hired him as a puppet. But yeah, to like, bastardize Superman, because Superman is the symbol of hope and the paragon of virtue. Damn it, I cannot have that. Get Brian Michael Bendis on board, who works out better with children characters. Yeah, I really am surprised by that. Like, I thought he would be perfect for the Legion of Superheroes. He's gonna write that story soon. Though, of course, that pissed me off, because, so you're confirming that what's supposed to happen in Doomsday Clock is really gonna happen, and you're not gonna leave that as a surprise for us. We know it's gonna happen now, and it has to end this year, or else everything just gets more confusing than it already is. Like the Justice Society be coming back, except we gotta go ahead and bring the Justice Society in, even though we're kind of doing a story where we bring them back, but we can't bring them back yet. But let's do it anyways. But yeah, I'm going off topic with DC and its recent management incompetence and how they are no longer in the idea of surprising us. So, or keeping things in suspense. So yeah, this story is a very epic scope scale one. Like everyone said this about how Jonathan Hickman wrote the Avengers and New Avengers. He basically looked at this less of a comic book and more like a high concept science fiction adventure, which I totally get. I could see that. Like, a lot of elements of it was science fiction adventure, and it's a pretty awesome story. It just has the Avengers in it. Like, and when you really think about it, that does make sense, considering he's just basically saying, let's embrace the madness with this. And the artwork is phenomenal. Like I love the Avengers portion of the artwork because it has this realistic style to it. Like, it's the same style as some of the Batman Tom King comic stories. I keep thinking it's going to turn into a Telltale Games choose dialogue option moment. I don't know why he does that artwork so resembling it. Like, I'm convinced. Yeah, haven't you noticed that some of the Tom King stories kind of have the Telltale art style, like, completely in check? But, yeah. Like, there's even some issues in here that basically have a similar art pattern. But, let me see if I can find one. But, yeah, I'm looking at this, and, yeah, like, during the 8-month period, Tony Stark kind of got captured and whatnot, and is trapped, and has basically lost his mind. Like, really. Oh, here's some of the artwork. Let me see if I can show you. See, the artwork here to me just looks like you could expect it in a video game Telltale comic adventure, but it's being used in the comics, and yeah. And this is where Reed Richards is talking with Susan, and it's revealed that she's not really affiliated, she's an inside woman for the Illuminati, well, specifically Reed Richards, because it's her husband. And while she has had disagreements with her husband's rather peculiar adventures, like in the Civil War comic event, and World War Hulk, it's not that surprising she would help him out. Like, I'm pretty sure she does see this as wrong, how he's basically killing planets, but I think she's in a more understanding kind of way. I don't know why he felt like this, but Val, Reed Richards' daughter, says, "Dad, you can't win. Time to start figuring out how not to lose." And, yeah, that's basically the vibe. Basically, you're not going to win this fight. This is a fight that you can't win. You're basically delaying what's an inevitability. The incursions are coming. You could stop as many planets as you want, but it's going to happen. You could kill every planet in the multiverse, it's somehow going to happen. If they can't use an Earth, they'll find something else to do. And one of the bigger plot elements in this is regarding Ramboom, I think it was called, the god they worshipped, the Black Swan worshipped. It's revealed in this story that he is real. You see, Doctor Strange, who had disappeared in between the 8-month period and joined up with these one-eyed helmeted creatures, find the Ramboom, and it's revealed to be none other than Doom! Because Doctor Doom, with the help of Molecule Man, you know, the guy who's basically a god from the Secret Wars event and managed to take down Galactus. Not the Jonathan Hickman one, the one from like several decades ago. Yeah, comic books are confusing. So, what this basically is revealing, that Doctor Doom traveled back in time to the beginning of time itself, or to the beginning of a multiverse, and basically became a god, and these people worship him, the Black Swans worship him, and this leads to hijinks in the story. So basically, Doctor Doom, by that logic, is responsible for everything that went down. Like, all this was a long-term and ultimate plan to take over the universe and acquire ultimate power. Because this does lead into Secret Wars. Specifically, we get God King Doom. Yeah. Like, who is he challenging? Oh, remember in Secret Wars, the original, we got the Beyonder? Well, we're gonna see an entire species of the Beyonders. And Doctor Doom basically says, I challenge your authoritarian stance in the universe. Because I am Doom. Victor Von Doom. Doom! And it subsequently disappears near the end of the story because this is all building up to Secret Wars. But ultimately, we all know where that goes. But yeah, when Doctor Doom does this moment, and as you can see, the Ultimate first ever issue cover is shown on here. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Doctor Doom becomes God. He defeats the Beyonders somehow, and becomes the supreme god of the multiverse, and creates Battle World, which is encompassing of all the Marvel multiverse and all the alternate events that could go down. And that's how Secret Wars happens, the 2015 event. But back to this part, this leads to an event where it causes a compression of the multiverse. Now it's down from about over hundreds of thousands to a few dozen planets remaining that contains the multiverse. So, yeah. And then it dwindles even more down to just the Ultimate Universe and the Earth 616 universe. And we get what's going on the Ultimate side of things. The Maker has been destroying Earths just as much as the Illuminati have been destroying Earths. And he finds the Cabal. He recruits them to his cause. There was a thing I was wondering what was going on the Ultimate side of things at the time, because in the Ultimate comics during Jonathan Hickman's 24 issues, maybe 12 issue run, was that the Maker's city, and specifically his AI, turned on him because they made a friend. Awesome. So I was just trying to figure out, that doesn't make wait, then how did he build a new city? Like, I should probably read the rest of the Ultimate storyline, but I kind of just like Jonathan Hickman's. Like, I have one storyline where Captain America becomes president of the United States of America because of write-ins. Well, at least it's better than Harambe. I am still pissed at that. Like, I'm never letting that go. No, seriously, like, what the fuck? Like, you mean to tell me that this election that everyone deemed was the most important election in a long time, 100,000 people decide to be idiots and say, I'm gonna vote for Harambe, that meme that was so outdated within 3 weeks. Why? That votes could have went to anyone else that was running. Like, I'm not telling you to vote for Hillary or Donald Trump. That's a completely different subject. But could you vote for an actual person? Like, you can vote for the Green Party. You can vote for anyone. Like, basically every politician is like corrupt and whatnot. So really, no one won in the end. So really, we're damned either way. So yeah, but why vote for a meme? Well, what's the meme gonna do if it's somehow one office? You know, this is sometimes I did wish Captain America was real. He'd probably knock some sense into these people. Oh man, because you just wasted a vote. Okay, I know I've been going off tangent here, but I'm trying to fill this up as much as I can because I was originally going to do a basically page by page look at the story, but then I realized that would probably take God knows how long. So that would probably have taken 2 hours. Like when I did the 52 first half of the story, it took over an hour, and considering this is a 500-page event and it's all, and you know, I would be reading a whole bunch of stuff. I feel like this could take 2 hours, so I'm trying to compress it as much as I can. But yeah, eventually Susan Storm eventually has to try and talk these two sides to stop fighting, and they ultimately agree that they have to settle their differences and stop the Cabal especially. But eventually it reaches a point where all the Illuminati are willing to turn themselves in after this is all over. And Namor admits that he would do the massacring again, but admits it was wrong. And then he says that he'll surrender and turn themselves in, and that there will be a trial, and Namor accepts it, and saying he deserves what's coming for me, and he's not running from any punishments. Yeah. And basically they all agree except for Black Panther. He's still morally righteously pissed off because, you know, Namor led to the massacre of his entire people, so yeah, it's kind of understandable. So this leads to a very awesome moment eventually where Namor has to trick the Cabal and leave them behind. And then one moment comes when Namor leaves behind, and then Black Panther mysteriously disappears. Let me just find it. Okay, T'Challa arrives, and they're on this big platform, and Namor's asking what's going on, and yeah, T'Challa basically shocks everyone, where he stabs Namor in the heart, and he just says, You dare? You dare to think you could kill me with a knife? But then T'Challa says, No, I just put the blade where it was supposed to go. That's not what's going to kill you. Huh? Oh, Black Bolt. What are... And then, because Black Bolt has this ability in him where if he speaks too much, it leads to a sonic boom, basically. So he has to speak either not at all or very, very quietly, but even just the tiniest fragment of a small little speech will basically cause an explosion, where he then screams out farewell about his brother, and Namor is sent flying all the way back down to the earth, and T'Challa decides to be prided in this because Namor is like, because Black Bolt looks at Black Panther like, what are you doing, man? Just do it. But no, T'Challa just explained in his twisted revenge scheme, because he wants him to know that it was me. I am the reason you died. Yeah, that backfired epically, because at the end of that after T'Challa says he's not coming back, Like, hold on, let me find it. Because it doesn't not end well for Namor and whatnot. Because Namor and the Cabal, let's just say it's not going to end pretty well. You see, in the end of this issue here, after that incident, we get the Maker. Yep, the Maker has finally found them, and basically, you know, that's going to lead to all hell. Like, you got the Maker, who's a genocidal maniac because his girlfriend rejected his proposal. And then Ultimatum happened, and then Ultimatum was happening at the time. Then he decides to propose to his would-be wife at Johnny Storm's funeral, at Johnny Storm's father's funeral. Because that's classy. Yeah. So yeah, Reed Richards of the Ultimate Universe has now found the Cabal, and now he has recruited them to his cause. Because, well, they can't go really anywhere else. Eventually, when Iron Man, Tony Stark, that's basically went insane and ballistic and refuses to admit he's wrong, he tries to and Steve Rogers basically forever condemns him as a criminal. He basically tries to act like he's not a monster, but it's revealed that he kind of knew this whole thing was going to fail miserably, and basically knew the whole time. And this leads to a fallout between Iron Man and Captain America, where eventually it culminates in this big epic duel between them. Basically, it's like, what if we did Civil War, except we did it right and not did it in a way that's pissed off everybody in the market? Yeah, that sounds about right, because while Civil War had a great idea going for it, the writing was just off. But the other thing is, in this story, you do get a legitimate reason for Captain America to be more bitter and angrier, because he's a victim in all this. His mind was erased by the Illuminati. He's basically been fooled by Tony Stark and the rest of the Illuminati to keep acting like this good guy and whatnot. And then when he realizes the truth after the events of Original Sin, he remembers what happened and then basically swears to get them and send them to jail and have them on trial. And have them locked away deep somewhere where they'll never escape. Because... Okay, so... What happened here was... One of the other things in this story that I didn't mention is the Hulk. Yeah, the Hulk is more intelligent in this one. He's basically Professor Hulk. He joined up with the Illuminati, which does seem kind of... fucked up insane. Because when you think about it, Hulk is joining up with the guys that shot him off into space and kickstarted the World War Hulk event in Planet Hulk, and he's working with them now. Like, granted, not all of them were guilty. Namor and Black Bolt was retconned to be a Skrull the whole time. I don't know how that works with powers though. Black Bolt was a Skrull. Namor was against it. T'Challa wasn't part of the Illuminati, but the rest of them all agreed, except for Charles Xavier. He was gone at the time. But I believe it was mentioned in a tie-in issue to the event of World War Hulk that if it really did come down between a vote, and if he was present at that meeting, he said, yeah, I would have done it. I would have sent you off into space, but I would have confessed to this horrible thing and stood trial. So he actually saw reason with this. And like, I'm not saying that sending Bruce Banner into space was the greatest idea you could come up with, because that's a stupid fucking idea. The problem was that the other members of the Illuminati weren't punished. Oh, they got their asses handed to them by the Hulk. That's one satisfaction. But long-term wise, they weren't punished at all. They got away with it. Like, yeah, they probably lost some trust with Reed Richards and Susan's marriage going down the tubes for a little bit, but then they just, moved on. And then you got all this other crap going on with Iron Man, and then the eventual retcon with One More Day, because god damn, we can't have Peter Parker be an adult. Yeah, but it was just weird when I read that part where Hulk joins the Illuminati. Like, I get it's probably because he feels like it's a necessary route to go with because of the whole incursion crisis. But then there's also the fact that, yeah, they blasted you into space, man. And then it's revealed in the original Sin event that Tony Stark is responsible for Bruce Banner getting that gamma radiation thing that turned him into the Hulk. And I was like, oh my god. Dude! Just how far high were you that day? Remember, Tony Stark drank a lot before he decided to get better after the Fear Itself event, I believe. Unless this is ultimate Tony Stark, in which case he never went sober and never cleaned himself. But yeah, what the hell? So you decided to, without any consent or any thinking of it's the progress of science, that I'm gonna go ahead and ruin one of my closest friends' lives. Turn him into a public pariah, having launched into space. I am an insensitive jackass, and I was sober this whole time. I am trying to wonder how Marvel got away with this. Oh, man. But, yeah, so even after all these revelations and all these stuff that happened, Hulk did decide to join the Illuminati to help stop the incursions. Well, that didn't work out so well. Yeah. But eventually it gets to this culmination point. Also, when Thor and Hyperion are fighting basically the Beyonders after fighting off an alien invasion robotics group of people, Hyperion and Thor decide to see this army and decide, with Thor no longer having an arm, and yeah, so yeah, Thor was later deemed unworthy for the hammer. There's a story about that by Jason Aaron. You can look that up. I'll probably look at that over one day. But Thor decides that he's going to die out as his father's son, not as the unworthy. And he and Hyperion, because in the comics they're friends. I would love to see their interaction in the movies if Hyperion never shows up before Chris Hemsworth has to eventually retire the mantle. But to Jane Foster. But they decide to race to Valhalla by battling this army of robotic Beyonders, and they all proceed to die. Yeah, Thor and Hyperion are dead. Not kidding. So, yeah, and there's this huge conflict going on. Tony Stark trying to save the world, and yeah, basically it just gets more and more chaotic. The universe is basically pissed off at Tony and about a house built on lies that Tony just continues doing, and yeah, basically eventually Tony Stark and the others realize, yeah, we're all fucked, and they decide Reed Richards and the Future Foundation have created a life ship that would save at least 200 people of right scientists and engineers to restart humanity. It's kind of hard to do that when it's not just Earth being destroyed, it's the entire goddamn universe. So yeah, you're kind of out of luck with this plan. Like, really fucking out of luck. So, yeah. They decide not to take Tony Stark because of what happened. And then with the end of the world in sight and chaos looming, Tony Stark and Captain America inside a Iron Man style suit decide to have one last go, and they reminisce about their time when this whole thing started with the whole, it began with an idea. They fight. Tony wants Captain America forever deems him a criminal to the world. They said they're finished. And Captain America screams out, I want you to admit that you lied this whole time, that you lied to me, you lied to all of us, old friend. And Iron Man admits that, yeah, I lied. And if he was told if there was ever a way to change things, he says, I wouldn't change a thing. And they proceed to start fighting as ships from the Ultimate Universe and the Marvel Universe and heroes and villains all fighting. It's absolute chaos as the narration ends with this. It started with two men. One was life and one was death. And one always wins. Everything dies. There is only secret wars. And that was basically my big summation and occasional tangents of Jonathan Hickman's Avengers, New Avengers, Time Runs Out storyline. And it is fucking fantastic. I fucking love this story. Every moment of it was great. I loved every moment. It felt like you really feel for both sides. You want, except for some characters because they're crazy. But you understand that things have pretty much gone to this bleak point, and now everything, all hell is broken loose, and nothing can stop it. And then you have to come to the realization that we're all fucked. Everything we've done, there was no stopping it, and Doom becoming God in the end at the beginning of Secret Wars, because Secret Wars opens up with everyone dying. Yeah, that's how the story starts. But yeah, you get the Ultimate Universe. This might as well have been an event prelude to the event comic. Like, this was basically feeling like a huge event, because you had not just the Avengers, New Avengers, you had some of the X-Men involved, you had Thanos involved, you had Doctor Doom involved, you had the Fantastic Four involved, you had virtually every Marvel character that could show up in the story realistically in this story. And you had so many plot elements that had to be resolved in order to finish up the build-up. And this was told, in my opinion, masterfully with this culmination piece. I loved every moment of it. I really recommend checking it out. If you want, you can check out Colorado Vans Comics and Games. This is where I got it. This was a pretty epic book for me. I've reread this like 3 times already, so I basically read over 1,500 pages. Like, I even love the artwork. I love all the covers. I love all the artistic stuff they went with. Yeah, I even have the tie-ins to the end of the Marvel, the End of Days storyline, where all these Marvel tiles all focus on the end of the world for them, the last days of the Marvel Universe, Secret Wars. I might start reviewing some of those issues later down the road, but I just wanted to get this stuff out of the way. So, these were our thoughts on Marvel's Jonathan Hickman's Avengers, New Avengers, Time Runs Out. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate. Stay tuned for more. And just remember, one life ends and another begins.